The Phoenix Suns were never supposed to matter. That's how it felt at the beginning. Dropped into the NBA in 1968, a desert franchise with no rings, no history, no reason for anyone to take them seriously. The coasts had their dynasties. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks. Phoenix had saguaro cactuses and empty air, and yet they found a way to matter anyway. Not with championships, but with heartbreak. From the start, the Suns carved out an identity as the team that could shine bright, captivate crowds, and then watch it all slip away. Their first finals in 1976, Paul Westphal, Alvin Adams, Garherd's shot heard round the world. Triple overtime against the Celtics, a classic etched in NBA lore. But no trophy. Just a team that proved it could reach the mountain and reminded you how far the fall is when you don't finish. That's the story you inherit as a Suns fan. Not banners, not rings, but scars. You don't root for the Suns expecting dominance. You root for them expecting beauty that won't last. Brilliance that fades in the desert heat. A team always close enough to break your heart, but never close enough to heal it. From the very beginning, Phoenix was born into almost. The Suns were never bigger than they were in 1993. Charles Barkley arrives from Philly, hungry to prove himself. Instantly, he transforms the team. MVP season, 62 wins, the best record in the NBA. The Valley is alive. Purple and orange everywhere. America West Arena vibrating like it's about to crack open. For once, Phoenix isn't just fun, they're feared. They bulldoze through the playoffs, and for the first time since '76, the finals are real. And who's waiting? Michael Jordan. Peak Jordan. The one obstacle every Western contender in the '90s had to face. The Suns fight. Kevin Johnson slicing into the lane. Dan Modgerly bombing threes. Barkley trying to match Jordan punch for punch. Game 3 goes triple overtime, a reminder that Phoenix knows how to play in heartbreak classics. Barkley pours his soul into the series, but Jordan is Jordan. A 55-point game in Phoenix, the infamous John Paxson 3 in Game 6. And just like that, the Suns' dream season is over. You don't get remembered as the team that pushed Chicago to 6 games. You get remembered as another victim in Jordan's dynasty. For Phoenix, that loss etched something permanent into the franchise identity. Not losers, but almost. Close enough to taste it. Close enough to believe it. Just far enough to make the pain last forever. Basketball has never been more fun than it was in Phoenix in the mid-2000s. Mike D'Antoni on the sideline, Steve Nash with the ball in his hands, Amr Stoudemire rim running like a freight train, Sean Marion flying in from everywhere. 7 seconds or less wasn't just a nickname. It was a revolution. The Suns broke the rules. Threes before layups. Pace before patience. Spacing before size. They weren't supposed to win this way, and for a while it looked like they might prove the whole league wrong. Nash wins back-to-back MVPs. The Suns win 60. They blow teams out before halftime, running opponents into exhaustion. And for a city starved since Barkley's run, it feels like destiny. But destiny never comes. The 2005 Spurs grind them down. The 2006 Mavericks outlast them. And then 2007, the year that still hurts. Robert Horry's cheap shot on Nash. Amari and Diaw step a foot onto the floor, suspended. Series over. The best team in basketball undone by a rulebook. 7 seconds or less change the sport forever. You see its fingerprints on every modern offense. But in Phoenix, it's not remembered as a revolution. It's remembered as another almost. Beauty without rings. Innovation without reward. A mirage in the desert. When the 7 seconds or less Suns finally faded, there was no clean rebuild. No clear plan. Just a slow drift into irrelevance. Steve Nash's back gave out. Amare left for New York. Sean Marion was gone, then traded back and gone again. The magic disappeared, and all that was left was a franchise searching for direction. What followed wasn't rebuilding, it was wandering. Goran Dragic had his moments. Eric Bledsoe became the mini LeBron who never made the leap. Isaiah Thomas showed flashes before being shipped out. At one point, the Suns had 3 starting caliber point guards on the same roster and still couldn't figure out how to make the playoffs. Draft picks came and went. Alex Len, Dragan Bender, Josh Jackson. Names that were supposed to mean progress but only became reminders of what could have been. Meanwhile, the arena that once hosted playoff classics turned into a quiet place for visiting stars to put on shows. The Suns weren't feared, they weren't relevant. They weren't anything at all. For nearly a decade, Phoenix lived in the wilderness, a franchise without a compass. And that's sometimes worse than losing, because when you're lost, you forget what winning even feels like. For years, all Phoenix had was Devin Booker. The kid drafted 13th in 2015, stuck on lottery teams, dropping 70 points in a game the Suns still lost. The stat line said history. The scoreboard said misery. That was the Suns in a nutshell. But in 2020, inside the Orlando bubble, something changed. Booker finally had a stage, and the Suns finally had a rhythm. 8 games, 8 wins. Beating playoff teams, knocking off contenders, playing like a group that didn't know they were supposed to fade away. Booker's buzzer beater over the Clippers, falling sideways, off balance, Kawhi and PG draped on him, felt like a prophecy. The kind of shot you replay not because it won a championship, but because it made you believe one might actually be possible again. They didn't make the playoffs. Mathematically, the streak wasn't enough. But the Bubble Suns were more than a record. They were a reminder that Phoenix wasn't dead, that the desert still had something growing beneath the surface. It wasn't a title run. It wasn't even a playoff berth. But for the first time in a decade, Suns fans felt something dangerous. Hope. When Chris Paul arrived in 2020, it felt surreal. The point god. The veteran every team wanted, but nobody thought Phoenix could actually land. And suddenly, the Suns weren't just scrappy underdogs anymore. They were contenders. Paul gave them structure. He gave them order. DeAndre Ayton looked sharper, locked in by Paul's voice in his ear. Mikal Bridges thrived in his role, defending wings and hitting corner threes, and Devin Booker, freed from having to do everything alone, became the star he was always meant to be. The 2021 run felt like magic. Beating the Lakers, sweeping the Nuggets, surviving the Clippers, and then the finals. Phoenix's first since 1993. Up 2-0 on Milwaukee, it looked like destiny. The desert was ready to explode. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo happened. The 50-point closeout game. The block on Ayton. The alley-oop that sealed it. Just like that, the window slammed shut. The Suns would still be good, still competitive, but never quite that close again. Every year after, the injuries piled up, the chemistry cracked, and the dream drifted further away. The Chris Paul window wasn't just a missed chance. It was the reminder that in Phoenix, even when everything lines up, the ending is still the same. Almost. The night was supposed to be simple. 2018 NBA Draft. The Suns have the number 1 pick for the first time in franchise history, and in a class stacked with talent, they choose DeAndre Ayton. A safe pick, a local product, a big man who looked like he could anchor the middle for the next decade. And for a while, it made sense. Ayton was solid. Double-doubles, efficient scoring. A key piece of that 2021 finals run. You don't get that far without him, but every highlight of Luka Doncic feels like a dagger. Because he was right there. The kid from Slovenia. The one some called the best European prospect ever. The one who went third and turned Dallas into his personal playground. Every step-back three. Every 40-point playoff masterpiece. Every moment where Luka looked like the best player on the planet reminds you of what could have been. It's not that Ayton was bad. He wasn't. It's that Luka was generational. And in Phoenix, solid doesn't erase 50 years of almost. Now Ayton is gone. Luka is still climbing. And Suns fans are left staring at a ghost. Not of the player they had, but of the player they passed on. The shadow doesn't fade. It just gets longer. The summer of 2023 was supposed to make Phoenix unstoppable. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and now Bradley Beal. 3 scorers who could get 30 any given night. A big 3 in the desert. On paper, it was firepower that no defense could survive, but on paper is where it stayed. Beal's body betrayed him almost immediately. Back spasms, hamstring pulls, ankle tweaks. The kind of injuries that linger, not heal. He missed games, then returned. Then missed more. And every time he checked back in, it felt like the rhythm was gone. The bench disappeared. Depth turned into patchwork. And fans who'd once shouted for joy started muttering in frustration. Nobody captured that frustration louder than FaZe Adapt. one of the Suns' most vocal celebrity fans. Every missed shot became content. Every injury became fuel. Every turnover became another viral clip of him railing against Beal's contract. And the worst part? He wasn't wrong. Because Beal's deal wasn't just expensive, it was suffocating. A no-trade clause locking Phoenix into a gamble that already looked like a losing hand. The Bradley Beal bet wasn't just about adding another star. It became a mirror, showing Suns fans what they feared most, that this wasn't a championship move. It was another almost. Another mirage fading before it ever became real. Before the Beal gamble, before the Durant trade, before the finals run, there was Robert Sarver. 2 decades of mismanagement, penny pinching, and dysfunction that warped the franchise's DNA. This was an owner who treated the Suns like a vanity project, not a legacy. Cutting costs, selling picks, cycling through coaches like they were rental cars. Phoenix became a punchline not because of the players, but because of the man signing the checks. The Sarver years left scars. Fans watched Amari walk because he didn't want to pay, watched draft picks traded for cash, watched good coaches scapegoated while the culture rotted above them. And just when the team finally crawled out of the lottery, the bombshell reports dropped. Workplace misconduct, toxic culture, the kind of headlines that don't just sting, they stain. Sarver sells, Matt Ishbia buys. And for the first time in years, there's hope in the boardroom. Ishbia spends, trades big, goes all in. He wants to win. No one can deny that. But here's the thing about hangovers. Even when the new day comes, the headache doesn't vanish. The scars of Sarver's neglect linger. The missed opportunities, the hollow drafts, the wasted years. So when Ishbia pushes the chips in, Suns fans feel 2 things at once: excitement and dread. Because they've lived through ownership that promised everything and delivered dust. And you don't unlearn that kind of pain. For most franchises, the draft is the lifeline. A chance to reset, to reload, to dream about tomorrow. For Phoenix, tomorrow has already been traded away. The Kevin Durant deal, the Bradley Beal trade. Every move that screamed win now also came with a silent cost. Draft picks tossed into the desert like water spilled on hot pavement. Gone. Evaporated. The Suns don't just lack first rounders, they lack the idea of a future. There's no young core waiting in the wings, no pipeline of talent developing quietly on the bench. It's stars, and whatever veterans will take minimum contracts to chase a ring. And that would be fine, if the rings came. If Durant, Booker, and Beal delivered the title that 50 years of almost have denied. But without the trophy, those missing picks feel like a mortgage on a house that might collapse before it's finished. Every time another team lands a gem at number 12 or number 18, you feel it in Phoenix. That could have been us. That could have been the bridge to whatever comes after KD and Beal. Instead, the desert feels even drier. A franchise betting everything on the now while the future slips further and further away. Because in Phoenix, the past was almost. The present is all in. And the future? It's already gone. Not because the Suns have never been close. They've been too close. 1976, 1993, 2007, 2021. 4 different eras, 4 different cores, and all of them end the same way. A moment that should have turned into a banner instead of becoming another scar. Not because the Suns never had stars. They've had some of the most dazzling names the league has ever seen. Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, Amare Stoudemire, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, even Bradley Beal in theory. It's because in Phoenix, every window slams shut before you get through it. The Jordan shot, the Amare suspension, the Giannis block, the Luka shadow, the Durant gamble, the Beal contract, the Sarver years. Every era has its what if. And every generation of fans has learned to carry it. That's what makes it suck. Not the losing, the almost winning, not the drought, the mirages that keep you believing the desert might bloom. And yet, you keep showing up. You wear the purple and orange. You pack the arena. You chant for a title you've never seen because hope in Phoenix is harder to kill than cactus in the desert. But deep down, the story always ends the same. Close enough to break your heart, never close enough to heal it. That's why it sucks to be a Phoenix Suns fan.